Hey everybody, it is the women of Wildrose Nation coming back at you again. We're a very small group this morning because it's campaign season for us. We've got Paul Hinman hanging out in Fort McMurray-Lac La Biche. Today he's actually on the road right now on his way to Lac La Biche to go and do some door knocking and some events over there. So that's kind of half of our women of Wildrose, or they're getting ready for that. And the other half, you guys are in Fort McMurray.
Mm-hmm.
Boots on the ground, knocking on the doors, putting up signs, finding out what's on people's minds, what's going on. Interesting, or maybe not so interesting, that several people don't know that there's a by-election even happening.
Right.
I'm running
into that.
Yeah, right. Like I'm one of the ones working the phones from a distance, trying to connect with as many people as we can. And I find that a lot. Like, oh, there is a by-election? Yeah, there is. And we're running, and our candidate would love to represent you in the legislature, right? So it's been really fun time educating people, I think, over this whole entire by-election. It's been fun / maybe not so fun learning what goes into a campaign. We were talking about that a little bit before we started to record. I think the other thing that I've learned, and I want you gals to jump in on this, is that I started to read the headlines differently since we got into campaign mode. And that has been kind of I don't know if you'd call it really a skill, but it's certainly been an incredible observation. And there was a couple of them this week that really jumped out at me. The first was Blanchette over in Quebec, as they're getting ready to kind of jimmy the lines, if you will, the electoral district lines federally, because they do that every so often just to make sure that everything's equal, even though it isn't, but that's another conversation. And Blanchette stands to lose a couple of seats because people are leaving Quebec, and he's freaking out. Well, I'm Quebec. We are us. We should never lose any seats. And he's kind of getting hoity-toity. And then we get back home a little bit closer here to more local, and we see our prime minister, who's having a bit of a hissy fit. Or premier. Well, prime minister's always having a hissy fit, but our premier is having a hissy fit because his job is on the line on April 9th. And so he's saying, well, if my job is on the line, yours is going to be too, and I just might call an early election. It's like, what? Like, grow up. Yeah. Enough. We've got a job to do here. We've got people that are depending on the people that we elect into these roles, and they're all behaving like a bunch of babies. Yeah. And so I'm not happy about that. So let's unpack that a little bit. What are your girls' takeaway from these headlines that we're seeing?
Well, I mean, with the Quebec thing, that's status quo. That's typical. Nothing really to see there. There's nothing to be shocked about. I'm just another example, Exhibit Z or whatever, of why we need out.
Yeah.
Because the really sad part is that more than half of the Conservative MPs actually voted to support his motion.
I know.
That is the really sad part. So we think that we're represented when we send somebody out to Ottawa. We're not. It's a joke.
Yep.
We're like, well, at least we have someone in Ottawa, speaking up for us. No, we don't. Good luck with that.
Yeah, it's true. I went through the yays and the nays as well. I looked up to see who went in which direction, and there were a couple of surprises. Candace Bergen voted yes. Like, really? You're supposed to be the leader. O'Toole voted yes. Not surprising.
No.
Pierre Poilievre didn't show up. He was nowhere to be found. And so that was, I don't know. Maybe his schedule didn't allow him to, but that's a pretty important thing. Even though it was non-binding, you want to get in there and let people know where you stand on something like that.
Right.
I think that for Pierre, he doesn't want to rock the boat for his Quebec votes, try and look like he's being neutral. But on the other hand, as per normal, the West continually gets shoved off to the side and treated as a colony. And we truly, our votes truly do not matter in the federal picture at all. And they know it.
Yeah.
They know it. There is nothing that they have to do to help support us at all.
No.
Like if he wants us in Alberta to vote for him federally, he should have been in that house and voting against it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another notch down in the respect for me.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of that, right? Like people kind of think that Pierre might be the savior for the Conservative Party and the West, because, you know, most of his values seem to be conservative enough that they would align with us. But then, I don't know. There's a lot there that makes me think it still doesn't give me any hope that we've got any reason to stay. Put it that way.
Yeah.
There's no substance there.
Yeah.
There's no substance there.
It's sad.
It is. It is. Because I think a lot of people in the West are kind of hanging on to that.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to break up the country. But at the same time, I'm seeing more and more of that kind of conversation take place across the country. It's not just us talking about it anymore.
No.
Other provinces are saying, nope, this is too big. There's too much overreach. And maybe it would be better if the country just kind of splintered off a little bit, and then let the provinces, once we've got back down to our roots and the real reason why we're here, well, then we'll decide how to work together after that.
Yeah.
And I think we do a great job of it.
I had a number of conversations with people on the doors this week from the Maritimes. You know, Fort McMurray has a lot of folks from all across the country. Actually, people from Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And thinking back on those conversations, and it was almost always the same thing, what you just described. You know, I had one guy from Newfoundland tell me, you know, exactly what the federal government did to basically take out the little town that he grew up in, and there's no work there, and, you know, set it up so that those who are working are making less than those who are on the welfare / employment insurance program. You know, and what that has done to the morale of that town, right? And he was just like, I see the same thing in Alberta where we're not being treated fairly, and the federal government has way too much authority and way too much power. It needs to be spread out, definitely.
Totally.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then, well, speaking of too much power, we've got our own premier who is up for a bit of a vote on April 9th to see whether he stays or whether he goes. Now, I think some people are a little bit confused just because if the UCP membership, and there's all kinds of shenanigans around that too, with memberships being bought right now and who's buying them and how that's taking place. That's another conversation. But I think there's some confusion. If the UCP membership says, no, we don't want you as our leader anymore, that doesn't mean he's not an MLA. He's not turfed. Right. It just means he's brought down a notch. And then they have got to pick somebody else to be that leader. So this week, I found it kind of interesting. I think it was just yesterday that I saw the headline where he's sort of putting it out there. Well, maybe even though I did put in place that there would be like an absolute date for elections, I can't overrule that. And maybe we'll just have an early election because if my job is on the line, maybe all of your jobs should be too. And I thought, what? I mean, obviously he didn't say it quite like that, but you might as well have.
Right.
That was the premise.
That was the premise of it. And I just thought, is there no maturity?
No.
Like, these are high level positions. And there's nothing.
It's all ego driven. And like, this just turns my stomach. It's like, is there no regard for the Albertan people? And the effect that your little ego-driven decision is going to make on everybody else, and how much it's going to cost the taxpayers for you to have your little public hissy fit. You know, I look at what's going on with the UCP and with the whole Brian Jean thing, and how much time and money and energy is being put into the UCP by the little guy, right? Attending all these meetings and buying our memberships, and we're going to pay to go to Red Deer and da-da-da-da. And all it is straight up politics.
Yeah.
The whole Brian Jean thing, it's a grudge match between him and Kenny. It's not for the best of Albertans.
No.
It's to satisfy egos. And that is politics. And I have come across that on the doors this week where people are like, I'm tired of politics. I don't trust politicians. Well, I don't blame you because I'm tired of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an option. We can do something differently. You know what? Paul has been here every evening, 8:30. That's when he stops. Yeah. That's when he stops for supper. Is at 8:30 at night, and he sits here on my little footstool, and we feed him because he wasn't looking too good. Because
he looks much better now.
He's looking better after about 4 days of some food, right? That doesn't include frozen pizzas. Because he's been working so hard.
Yeah.
He's out there on the doors or on the phones every single day from 6 o'clock in the morning until like the other night he was out past midnight putting up signs because it had to be done, and he has a message to share. That's not a politician.
No.
Whereas Brian Jean posts his little Facebook post, oh, I'm so glad for volunteers who signed up the city, right? So he lists his 4 volunteers who went out and threw signs everywhere. Well, when I'm walking down the street, when I'm driving in a neighborhood, I have not seen a single Brian Jean sign on someone's lawn.
Yeah.
That means that someone has not been knocking on doors. Someone has not been going out and asking for support. Mm-hmm. Someone is assuming that the names in his Rolodex are going to get him in here. That's political. That's a politician. What we're seeing Paul do, that's someone who actually cares about fellow Albertans, who has a message of hope, who has a message of choice, and he's here to share it. And he's freedom. Willing, and freedom, and he's willing to sacrifice. He was looking like crap on Sunday night. Aww. But he is willing to sacrifice sleep and food and all that stuff to get out there. I mean, it's like bloody minus 30.
Yeah.
Today's not bad. Yesterday wasn't too bad, but it's been so cold all week, and he doesn't care. He's out there pounding on doors. Yeah. He was telling me that his knuckles from knocking on doors got raw, even through his gloves. So now when we go out, he takes his little clipboard and he taps on the door with his clipboard.
Good.
Knuckles. That is servant leadership.
He's a man of the people.
He really is.
He truly is a man of the people, and the most genuine. I honestly have to say, the few days I've spent time with him, I see a genuineness in Paul. Mm-hmm. I see a commitment to Alberta.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not to Canada, but to Alberta. I see a commitment to save our oil and gas industry and our employees and our jobs.
Yeah.
I see a commitment to fight for autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
I see a commitment to fight for our Constitution, to fight for the freedom that we are given through birth in our Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
I see all those things in one man.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel responsible at this point to get that message out. It's a true calling for me to get that message out at this point, because people are not aware of the man Paul Hinman is.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And if I can jump in for a second, I think people aren't always aware that this is a political problem, and therefore it requires a political solution. Even though we hate politics,
right?
It still requires a political solution. And that's really what this party is about. We don't like politics as normal or as usual. In fact, we've even gone so far as to kick people out of our party for pulling that garbage.
Right.
And thought nothing of it, and we'll do it again. Because it's just, there's no time for that.
No, it's not who we are.
No.
As a party or as individuals, it's not. We're not playing games. No. We don't play games with other people's lives. How narcissistic and sick is that?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's happening. If Kenny calls an early election,
that's all about him.
It's playing games with other people's lives. It's disgusting.
Yeah. It really, really is. It is. And to bring us back to the Constitution that's supposed to protect us, at this juncture, it's not even worth the paper it's on.
No, unfortunately not. No.
It's not. Like, we really, really need a Wildrose government in place to create an Alberta Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Something that is ours, that is meaningful, that's got power to it, that is a power to the people document, not power to the government document.
Right.
And that's the only way. All these mandates, like this game is not over. It is not over. It's been 2 years, 2 weeks now is 2 years. It's not over.
Mhm.
And if Albertans want to have anything going forward, we've got to get Wildrose in government. That's really the only solution.
Mm-hmm. I'm not. So what I find is, so about two and a half years ago, when Jason Kenney showed up in Alberta,
Yeah,
and the previous Wildrose Party was falling apart, and we have to merge this. What did we call it?
The PCs and the Wildrose
Conservatives.
Unite the Conservatives.
Yeah.
And he came in on his blue Dodge horse and wowed us all. I mean, I fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. I fell for it. And
that makes 3 of us.
Yeah. Not my husband. He knew.
Oh.
He saw.
Interesting.
But I wanted it so badly to be true.
Yeah.
That I trusted, and I'll never do that again. So what opened my eyes was his acceptance speech, and he talked about Canadian energy, and he talked about what Canada will do, and what I took out of that is we can no longer have a leader in this province that has any ties to federalism at all.
Agreed.
Because they will not protect us from Ottawa.
Yeah.
And Brian Jean is a federalist.
Mm-hmm.
There are several MLAs in our legislature that are federalists.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important for somebody to weed them out. And we need to use that in our messaging.
Mm-hmm.
That we need to stand for Alberta. And anyone who, I get frustrated when I keep hearing everybody, Canada's energy. We need more Canada's energy, particularly with this Russia-Ukrainian scenario happening right now. And if we had, Energy East, we would have energy autonomy. And I think to myself, it's not Canada's energy. It's Western Canada's energy. And this is a point that the rest of the country doesn't want to hear. They don't want to hear. No, it belongs to all of us. Well, that lets Justin Trudeau walk in the door and nationalize the whole thing and take it away from us. And boy, let me tell you, that'll be a fight. I hope that will be a fight.
Yeah.
I hope so too. I mean, he's already tried, right? They bought Trans Mountain
and shut it down
and killed it.
Which we all knew that was going to happen. Who didn't know that was going to happen?
Now it's so over budget.
Oh yeah.
What?
I said his wife. His wife didn't know it was going to happen.
Yeah,
she thought she was getting a pipeline for their anniversary or something.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, exactly. And now they're split. So there's that. But yeah, and then they ran it into the ground financially.
Right.
So terribly that now they're trying to offload it to somebody else to be somebody else's problem. Like it's just I was chatting with somebody the other day and I said, only government can manage to lose money selling oil and dope.
Right. I saw your post on that.
That's so brilliant.
I'm like, yep.
That's brilliant.
Yep, because everybody else seems to be able to do it real well.
Exactly, right?
I mean, you've got third world countries that are doing a better job moving their oil out than us. Like
Exactly. So we really do. And you're right. Like it's gotta come home. It is Western Canada's resources. They're ours. Mm-hmm. Eastern Canada has resources. If they want to develop them, do it. Don't let us stop you. I don't care. But no, you're not coming back and digging in my pockets anymore. Thank you very much. When we get treated like garbage by at the end of the day, it's not good. It's just not good at all. And up there in Fort McMurray, I mean, you mentioned, Angela, you were knocking on the door and it was somebody from Newfoundland, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how terribly they've been treated.
Right.
Newfoundland is another province where the equalization payment does not serve them well.
No.
It doesn't serve them well at all. And they are a spitting distance from going under.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, as a province. And
Yep.
I just don't want to see that for us at all,
Mhm.
at all. So we'll just continue. It's funny, people, I don't know, you guys probably get asked the same things too, but I get asked by quite a few people, how do you keep doing this? Why do you keep, like, it's such an uphill battle. And I just keep saying, well, you have to, because just no, you don't think about it. You just get up in the morning and you do it, because if we don't, who will?
Yeah. Well, that's just it. And we were actually kind of having a conversation along that line this morning because of a conversation that we'd had with Paul last night. And it's just like, there's a couple of different takes that I have on it. You have to live your life in a way that you do what is right simply because it is right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Not because of a perceived outcome or a hope for an outcome. It's because right is right. And I could not, my own conscience wouldn't let me just sit back and watch this as much as, and you know what, I'll say, I mean, there's just 3 of us, and I know that there'll be others who are watching, but I'll add a little bit of personal touch to this. So my son, my 23-year-old son, committed suicide in September. It'd be real easy to just sit back and go into my cave where I want to be. But his death, or part of it, is directly related. He did not get the health care that he sought for over 4 months due to the mandates put in by this government.
Mm-hmm.
And the number of people I have met, even up here in Fort McMurray, who have lost loved ones in the last 6 months, in the last 12 months, for the exact same reason. I can't, as much as I want to, I can't just sit there. Yeah. There's a part of me that's like, no, I don't want another person to ever have to go through this and to ever have to struggle with the feelings of, I mean, there's a lot of feelings about that, right? But feelings of like blame or anger or whatever, right? Towards my own government, towards the very people that are supposed to be serving me. I don't want other people to have to go through that.
No.
But that's one of the main reasons. I mean, I was involved in Wildrose before this, again, because I felt it was the right thing.
Yeah.
The foundational principles are right. And they're based in what is right and fair to other people, to other citizens. And I could totally support that. But since Kyle's passing, it's become even more than that to me. And I think that probably so many of us who are involved in this have been so affected by what's been going on the last 2 years, especially, that we can't sit back. We can't just sit back and watch it happen without trying at least to do something about it. And so it's just that, is this the right thing? Yes, it is.
Yes.
Are we going to be successful? We'll define success. But it doesn't, that's not why we're in it. We're in it because it is the right thing to do.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. It's a movement of the people, not politicians, right? Like, it's legitimately
100%, because you know, every night when we're here having dinner, and I look at everyone that's here, because there's 5 or 6 of us every night, and it's like, wow, we could all be doing something different. We don't have to be sitting in this weird little basement suite having dinner, and so that we can all go out and put signs out again till after midnight. We could all be doing something different with our lives. But we're here because we need to be. Albertans need a choice. They need to know they have a choice.
They need to know they have a choice. That's a good way to.
And then they can pick.
Yeah.
Right? That's exactly right. Yeah. And that's where it needs to get back to, is they can pick.
Yes. Yeah. Rather than being acted upon, they get to act and choose collectively.
Can we talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to choice? How about our media?
Yeah.
How about our media? Because doesn't the media tell us what to choose
all the time?
It's just it just kind of popped into my head.
Yeah.
So many
part of the
people
problem
that I've had conversations with are they have the CBC on in the background. First of all, could you turn your TV off before we talk?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't be distracted because I might swear.
Yeah.
If I hear something.
Yeah.
Because it's nonsense. Every single thing they say is a lie.
Yeah.
Everything. It's a narrative, and they're trying to push their elitist Eastern views on us.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that's where I want to put my hand up and say, nope, I want to slam the door on that.
Yep.
And I feel like we don't have a lot of time before they win.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I mean, even it sounds so funny to say because we're just like these little people, it feels like, in this great big pond sometimes, right? But
Right.
those of us that are in part of the communications team, our Facebook pages get suppressed all the time. Our Twitter pages get suppressed all the time. Our LinkedIn pages will often get suppressed. Not as bad as the others, but nevertheless, like it's still, and I just, I'll be looking at that going through, like, but I'm just a little old me person who's just,
Right.
trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
However, those powers that be feel threatened by you because now there's more and more of us speaking up. And frankly, it's more and more women.
Yes.
It's women who are saying no more masks for my child.
Yeah.
I am not giving my child that jab. It's the women that are running for school boards now to change how
Their policies.
the curriculum is being put out.
Yeah.
I feel like through this COVID mandate issue, I have watched the women become the warriors. I have watched the women step up to the plate.
Yep.
And I'm proud. I am proud of these women warriors. And I have 4 daughters.
Oh, wow.
And 1 son, 4 daughters. And I have watched them with their families. They never wore a mask. They stood up and they fought for their kids.
Good.
And
Nice.
I feel like the narrative, whoever it is, the media, the politicians, the elites, are recognizing that the women are stepping up. And what are they going to do? How are they going to stop us from talking? They can't.
No.
They can't.
Most of our husbands have been trying for decades and it's not going well.
It didn't work. So isn't it time for us to become the warriors?
Right? Exactly.
I agree.
And
You said it.
yeah, like I really feel strongly about that. And we need to be the face of this movement. I honestly believe that the women, I was so happy when Angela told me that there was this group.
Yeah.
And my heart leapt and I thought, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
warriors that we can get out there because they can't shut us up.
No, they
Nope.
can't. And one of the things, like when we started this, was exactly what you're saying, Tina, is the women have to come together. We've got to band together and support one another and create that community that for 2 years they've been trying very, very hard to break us away from.
Yeah.
And that's just completely wrong, first of all, that they even tried to do that. Second, I think I agree. Like, it really was mostly the women that were rebellious against these mandates. I know I was one. I was walking all around like a boss without a mask on everywhere. Even the one spot that I did have to wear it when I was at one of my work sites, and it well, you can't say I actually wore it because I didn't. I mean, it was a very feeble attempt and nobody seemed to question or call me out on it, so it was okay.
It was theatrics that day.
It really was. Like, you could see my mouth very well when I was talking. So there's that, but but yeah, it is like to create that community, to give people a place to go and just like real conversation, not scripted, not like just people and just that community. It's good. And that support for one another.
I agree. And we need that support. Like for me through the COVID, I have 5 children.
Mhm.
4 of them are daughters. They all live close to me. And we were able to keep our family and community. We got together for the Christmases. We got together
yeah.
for the Easters. We never once went, oh, we can't get together.
Yeah, that
we
wasn't
didn't.
an option here either.
And so, because our family is that important to us.
Yeah.
And I find it sad when I see posts like, oh, I'm so glad I'm going to be able to, for a post from another woman, I'm so glad I'm going to be able to see my in-laws or my sister or my brother or my niece. Like, and I think to myself, why?
That is so sad.
Why did you follow that?
Yeah.
It's fear. I don't think it's malevolence in people.
No,
I think it's
just
fear.
it was legitimate fear.
Yeah.
It was.
But not fear of COVID-19.
No.
Fear of the government.
Well said.
Which it should never be.
And that's where I drew the line. I was not afraid of COVID-19.
No.
But we were all afraid of getting caught.
Yeah.
And that is fear of government.
Yeah.
And I refuse to live my life that way. I'm not doing it.
No.
That's why I'm here.
No. It was really strange, isn't it? Like over the last couple of years, I remember, well, this Christmas wasn't an illegal Christmas, but last Christmas it was. Mm-hmm. And my family lives up in McMurray. And so we went up and we had Christmas, and on the way back, as we were driving down 63 to come back to Sherwood Park, there were 3 cops that were sitting on the side of the road. And my husband and I are looking at one another like, oh shit, we're busted. You know?
I never thought about that. You could do that actually, but there's one road out of Fort McMurray.
Yeah.
You could do that. You could be like, why are you here? I never thought about that.
Yeah. And I mean, it was a speed trap, and luckily we hadn't quite reached our usual destination on speed on that road. So it was fine. But it was just very strange that thought, like that was that it was there.
That we had to fear that. Oh, yuck.
Yeah.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Well, I've actually feared that Christmas, like you were saying.
Yeah.
We live in the country. I have no blinds on my windows at all.
Yeah.
Like no one could see my house.
Yeah.
So, but I bought paper blinds to put on the windows that face the road, so that, and I felt like the old Irish back in the 1600s when you weren't allowed to dance and congregate. And so that's why the Irish dancers dance with their hands down by their sides.
Really?
Yes, because as the authorities would walk by and the shadows were going up and down, but they were dancing and you weren't allowed to dance.
Oh my gosh.
And so that's why they dance with their arms down by their sides.
History.
And so I put these blinds up so that it would just be shadows of people.
Yeah.
And I told everybody, okay, we're Irish. We have to keep our hands down by our. So we made a joke out of it for the kids, so that they, why is Grandma's house all covered up?
Yeah. Oh my God.
But that's how I felt. I thought, here we go again. They are trying to stop us from congregating, because what happens when you congregate? We come up with ideas.
Right? No, nobody wants that. No thinking.
No thinking. No, they shut down our bars. They shut down our cafes. They shut down visiting family. They shut down our churches.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want us to gather and talk and have like minds.
Yep.
And this is why the trucker movement, in my mind, was so explosive. Yeah. Because when people saw that movement leave Vancouver and all the Canadian flags and all of the people and their signs, and one of my daughters looked at me and said, "Mom, we're not alone."
I don't think we have been ever.
But everybody thought
we all thought we were.
We all thought we were, because we weren't allowed to congregate. And when you went to a store, you were covered. So no one saw anybody. We became anonymous.
Yeah.
So nobody knew what anyone was thinking. We were living in fear.
Yeah.
2 years we lived in fear. Well, done.
Mm-hmm.
Bring back your mandates. Bring back your, it's over. Because the people said no.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah. Well, really, and then to bring all of that back around, the most solid way to make sure that it stays done is in 2023, if Kenny doesn't call it earlier, but as it stands, in 2023, get a Wildrose government in.
Yes.
We're not going to let this happen again.
Mhm.
We're not going to let any young men like your son, Angela, ever, because of government, have to suffer like that again.
Right.
It's tough enough.
Yeah.
Life is tough enough with all of the challenges that are out there. Government's got no business getting in the way. And that we got to get back to that.
Yeah.
We've got to get back to that.
Yeah.
It's top heavy. It needs to be
The other way around.
The other way around. And, maybe it was about a month ago now. Time flies so fast, doesn't it? 3 weeks for sure. I just put out a social media post one night after my prayer time. I just put out a social media post. I just felt led to do that. And I said, Babylon is falling. And whoosh, it just went crazy. And I was like, okay, I'm not the only one that sees this.
Yeah.
Like it is, which means there's going to be some chaos. It's going to be a little mucky and messy.
Yeah.
But the people will get back together. We will congregate. We will build those communities, and we're going to build what makes sense for us.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what we're about.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I could talk to you girls all day long.
But I got to put some signs out.
Yeah.
You do?
And I've got so much paperwork.
That's okay. I got my list of calls to make from Tammy. So
go Warriors.
We've all got our jobs to do and our roles to play. And before I get over to those phone calls and the other things, I'm going to make sure I get this downloaded and uploaded and out there. And everybody share this. Like, help us get this out, get the conversation going. Like I said, social media doesn't like that we're talking. Oh, well, share it and let's get talking anyways. And a vision that I have for this, here's what I'd love to see, is that the AGM is have like a breakout group of the women of Wildrose. I suppose I should probably have talked to the AGM organizers before I put that out there. But anyway, hopefully they'll forget. Oops.
I vote yes.
But funny. See that kind of grow, right? Like at every time that we do this, that have that time where it is the women of Wildrose that building up that community and supporting one another. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah. Excellent. Any last words, you girls, that you want to share?
Oh, just give a quick prayer for us for strength to get us to the last 10-day push here.
Yep.
Yeah. Prayers for Paul.
Absolutely. And his team. Yeah. Anyone that can get up here, even just for a few days, fantastic. Or, you know what, Fort McMurray is gorgeous. I haven't been back in almost 30 years, and I was just like, oh man, it's still home. It's still home. It's so crazy. Yeah. But anyways, great excuse to come up here and see another part of the province. And if you can't, Tammy Tatlock is still doing the organizing, all the calling. Get on and make some calls.
If we could just get everybody to give us one day. Mm-hmm. You know, if you can give more, that would be fantastic. But if we can just get our members to give us one day of time, either phoning or, even messages of encouragement to Paul and his team, because like you said earlier, it is a David and Goliath situation.
Yeah.
We are fighting the Goliath.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt that we can win this. I have no doubt. But the more people that are giving us that encouragement, it just helps us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And helps Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To know that he has the party support behind him.
Yeah.
Which I know he does, but the membership, if everybody just did one thing, that would be my message to the women. Yeah. Or to everybody, to be honest. Yeah.
But the women will make sure the men get up and do something. So
The women will make sure that the men get out there, yes. Just like the women have made sure the men have been fed.
There you go. They can't feed themselves. What the heck?
Yeah,
I
like
know.
I don't think eating beans out of a can that has been expired for a year and a half is a good meal.
That's not a good deal.
You know, I'm just throwing it out there that at some point this has been done. So if anybody wants to send up a Go Fresh kit, we'll definitely they'll definitely take it.
Oh my
For the address.
That's wild. You know, I never even thought of that. Like even something so simple as bringing some fresh groceries.
Yeah.
Right? Would go so long, or bring a homemade casserole, or like
Oh,
back to that roots, right? When so your neighbor, they just had their first baby and everybody shows up with more food than they know what to do with, or somebody passed away. Yeah, whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's that community of everybody coming together, and then you don't have to eat pizza out of a box every night. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, and I'm not kidding. That would mean the world to the team.
Mm-hmm.
It would mean the world to the team. Like
Awesome.
food, isn't food comfort?
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
And we've noticed a change
Mhm.
since they've been getting
Proper
these-
meals.
Yeah,
meals, yeah.
and we've really, really noticed it. And again, it wasn't something I would have even thought about until I actually saw it. So
Yeah.
here's our message to everybody. Yeah.
Awesome.
Somebody come feed them.
Exactly. Or even just support people that are locally there to feed them, right? If you can't,
Yeah.
if you live in another part, because it's interesting when you look on the map, like McMurray really is its own little microcosm.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Right up there, right? There
One
is
way,
only
one
one road out.
Yeah.
And I remember
Yeah.
when I lived up there, that was, well, at one season of my time up there was really in the heyday, and there just wasn't the infrastructure to handle and manage all the influx of people that were coming in. And I'd be in the grocery stores or whatever, and people were just complaining about how hard it was up there to get the things you needed, and how long you had to wait in line, and all the rest of that. And I would say, like, you came here and helped create this problem. There's one road out. You won't get lost. And
Yeah.
and people would just be stunned at me for saying that. I'm like, no, this is my home. Thank you very much. This is where I got married. This is where I'm raising my children. Like,
Mhm.
if you can't handle that, get out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that there is that in McMurray, and I expect in Lac La Biche too. There's that. This is our home. We're gonna look after it. And so let's look after you guys while you're up there making a difference. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's been a fantastic experience.
Mhm.
Good. That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. Well, good. Let's do this chat again. And Tina, we're going to make sure you're on there with us again too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm grateful to have been here.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Okay, well, stay warm, stay bundled up, and have fun cooking.
Thanks.
In our little kitchen.
In your little kitchen. Exactly. I love it. I love it. That's so good.
Thanks,
Excellent.
Kathy.
All right. You girls have a great day.
Thanks. You too.
Bye-bye.